to share something with you today. I came out of a healing session with someone today, and I was given the image of this young person, this young woman sitting next to this really large oak tree. And I heard the guidance, the spirit message say she had to grow up too fast. And that really got me feeling into something on how many of us, maybe you too, I know for me, I feel this way, that we feel like we had to grow up really fast. Maybe it might not be throughout your whole life, but you had experiences as a child that kind of you felt demanded that you had to kind of take over and take care of yourself and grow up too fast. Maybe you didn't have a mentor or a parent or someone near you that was able to come in and help you, or maybe you did, but you just didn't know how to ask for help. And some of these situations kind of made us have to grow up fast. Lots of times I'll hear people say, I had to grow up really fast and take care of my siblings. I had to grow up really fast and get a job. I had to grow up really fast and do these things. I had to be strong for myself. I had to take care of me. I had to be strong for other people. And it got me remembering, as many of you know, I have a background in landscape and horticulture. So I've learned a lot over the years about how trees and plants grow. And I remember when we would go through the ID classes of certain kind of trees, they would be listed as a slow, moderate, or fast grower. And it's important to know these growth rates in the trees because when we plant them in the landscape, oftentimes we're planting them for a purpose. And oftentimes we would choose fast growing trees to put an instant hedge in for privacy or, to have an instant impact over time. We wanted quick results, immediate, here and now. Which is kind of how, when we're asked to grow up fast or have that feeling, is that we need to do whatever we have to do in the moment to be okay, to provide the results that we need, to feel whatever it is that we need to feel or obtain whatever it is we need to obtain. Life's conditioning required this of us. But when I reflect back on these fast-growing trees, the lifespan or the strength of the tree is what was sacrificed in that fast growing. You see, the trees that we use, for example, for lumber to build houses, is brought down from colder regions of North America or in the world because in those colder regions they grow slower, and in that slower growth, they actually become stronger. So, although we may get instant results and instant gratification from a really fast growing tree, and that's purposeful and great. However, the longevity and the strength to withstand over time or through storms might not be there. And it really had me feeling into the idea of that, like these places in our life where we had to grow up really fast, they might not actually be the strongest part of us. They might actually be the part where when a storm comes through, that fractures. Because underneath this need to grow up fast, there's a wound, there's a spot there that needs to be healed. And oftentimes we're not given the space when we're having to grow up too fast to heal that wound and to care for that wound in the moment. We're busy moving on, doing what we need to do to survive, doing what we need to do to be okay, or what the mind says is okay. When really in that moment of that wounding, instead of having to grow up fast, What we all really needed in that space was love and connection. So when I was in this healing session and I saw this young girl sitting at the base of this oak tree, it was inviting her to now slow down, to lean up energetically against that big tree and slow the breath, slow down, go back to those places within herself where time needed to speed up. When we talk about the storms of life coming through, it tests us, and the branches that are weak are damaged in the storm and fall away. And what ends up happening is these traumas again invite us to either, grow fast again, or actually take the time now to go back and slow down and heal the wound that first happened a long, long time ago. The interesting thing too about this healing session, when I connected to this girl's energy in the tree, was her connection to time. Her energy spoke of there not being enough time in the day, there not being enough time to heal, there not being enough time to do the things that she wants to do, to not have enough time to chase all of her dreams and to do all the wonderful things that she felt. Her energy felt like she was just under this enormous pressure. You see, because what happened when she had to grow up too fast, when I had to grow up too fast, and maybe when you had to grow up too fast, you formed your connection to time needing to be fast. So you form this belief and connection to time of it somehow always having to be ahead of it, to beat it, to do things fast, to survive. And if we ask now to change that connection to time, to slow it down, to actually realize there's no such thing as time, that it's infinite, just like us and our heart space and our essence, that we can just be. But to the mind and the conditioning of having to grow up fast, just being is wasting time. However, it is in the just being that's actually mending your connection to time and allowing time to be whatever it is. When we're able to just be present and release our connection to time and come back and connect to the self and know there's no such thing. I asked her, how does your heart feel about time? I know when I asked myself that same question, how does my heart feel about time? I can feel the playful essence of a child that goes, what's time? Time is something that we kind of create in our minds to get by, to hurry, or to be aggravated at when it seems like it's too slow. How we connect to time directly affects our connection to ourself, because when we're not connected to ourself and connected to time, we let time be the ruler of our day and our life. How many times do you go through the day and say, I don't have time for that? It's because you're connected to an idea, to a conditioning, not to the self of being. Now you might say, that's great, but I got to get things done. There's shit to do. I get that. However, when we are connected to ourself and centered and in that being, it opens up the infinite possibilities of everything to flow to you. When we're connected to time, we're not connected here. When we're connected here, it allows everything all the time. When we can be in the energy of everything all the time, we are now tapped into the universal, infinite potential of everything, of miracles, of surprises, of expansion. That's what's so powerful when we talk about mindfulness and meditation, is when you go into a meditation, you're releasing your connection to time and you're connecting to the infinite universe. I'll do sessions with people and we do what we'll call a journey with Jen. Some of you may have experienced in a group form or one-on-one with me. And it's really interesting because our sessions will start and we'll go into this journey, which is a deep meditative state where we just take a walk together. And we connect to the messages, to the guidance, to the guides that want to come in and help and support us. There might be healing for you to do. There might be a truth-seeking mission. But so many times during these sessions, the person will come out and be like, whoa, and they'll breathe. And I'll say, keep your eyes closed. How long do you think you were in that meditation? And they'll be like, it felt like it was 5 or 10 minutes. And I'll be like, that was an hour. That was 45 minutes. And they're like, their mind's blown, right? Because they experienced so much. It was timeless. It just was. It just is. So, as you start to think about time, how are you connecting to it? Does it feel like it's too fast? Does it feel like you're waiting and it's too slow? What can you do to go back to the you that might be sitting underneath the oak tree that had to grow up too fast? How can you connect back to that person? How can you connect back to that young boy or girl that felt like they had to grow up so fast, that felt like they had to be strong, when in reality we discover that it is in that speeding up are the places that can become fractured when a storm comes. See, when you release the belief of what time is, you can actually go back to that time and rescue and hold and love that part of you that felt or thought that they had to grow up. When we connect back to that inner child, we connect back to the innocence and the wonder. And often, like I said, life has a funny way of feeling like it cuts that time short. However, once you realize that you can live in a space without time, that you can go to that place in any moment and love that part of you, And when you connect and love that part of you, you are then connected and loving infinitely.